Last night I finally watched Halloween 2018. It was so bad, it was beyond bad. It was not a Halloween movie. They just used the Halloween name, the Michael Myers character, to sell a different movie and to sell some politics. Because that's what I was getting from the whole movie. There was all these sub-themes. Starts off immediately. The beginning of the movie, they're doing the Jello thing. We're gonna make everything inclusive. It's supposed to be Halloween 1978. Continuing from that, Halloween 1978 had a lot of how do you even say, just the connections to that time, 1978. Who was watching horror movies then, and who wasn't? Well, the producers of this movie decided they're going to try to draw in every single person they possibly can. They do not want to make certain people feel left out. So we're going to fill the roster of actors with certain people, and we're going to switch it all up. It's going to be like what's the movie? The zombie movie, the famous one from the late 60s. The Night of the Living Dead. Night of the Living Dead. It's basically like that, and when they remade it, they did it the same way, the same sort of political themes. I mean, it is true that a certain demographic is now your Halloween trick-or-treaters now. In my area, I know what the demographic is, and it's just how things have changed and how certain people do no longer trick-or-treat, or the area has vacated. Certain demographics have left the area. It's a huge turnover or flight, if you will. But beyond that sort of BS that they had to throw into the movie, because they wanted to make sure they were appealing to, let's appeal to every single person, blah, 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 blah. Almost immediately, I'm struck by the music. The music is much faster than the original, and it's only sporadically used during the film. Instead, they're using a score, if you will, meaning some atmospheric music to set up certain things, and it just loses it. It just loses that appeal, that connection to 1978. You lost it right there. Next, you add all these bad actors, including Jamie Lee Curtis, who gave a pathetic performance. It was an Activia performance. And all these sub-themes of this feminism and setting it up that way, where all the male characters are all weak, except maybe one of the cops or something, and it's all very weak, and, we're going to do this whole, the psycho thing, where you have the dominant female forcing the male. Vincent Price. No, what's his name? Norman Bates. Or in reality, it would have been Ted Gein, his overbearing mother, isolating him from the world and setting him up for a most bad time later. All these movies are based on Ed Gein. Ed Gein was alive when Psycho came out, so they could not call it the Ed Gein story. And he was probably dead by the time Halloween came out, but they were on to different things, and they were looking at different things. There's all these homages to Halloween 78. That's what really pisses me off. They do all these homages where you have the, like the clothesline scene. You're gonna do that. You're gonna do a couple other ones, the homages to the original, and just really irritating, millennial types, actors, and just and just the end. The end was awful. It was just, what did it even mean? All of a sudden they can conquer this immovable force. They lost every connection to 1978. And what made the 1978 movie so great? And I've spoke at length about this before. And the 1978 movie was so good because of the atmosphere. And what sets off the atmosphere more than anything? The music. The music is the star of the film. It's not Michael Myers, but since that time, people have decided to turn Jamie Lee Curtis into a star of the movie, Michael Myers into the star of the movie, and since that time, that's all that people live by now. Despite all the different type of things, like in the first movie, he's hardly even seen, Michael Myers. Second one, a little more, but really not too much. He's got his collar up the whole time because the mask is starting to deteriorate. Then 3 comes along, he's not even in it. That pissed off a few people back then, I remember. And 4 comes back, and he comes back. It's kind of like Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th, there was no Jason Voorhees. There was the big killer in the movie. It was his mother. And they were trying to jump on the success of the Halloween movie. So you start off by taking away what made it so magical. And you take away the music. You really take away the music that set everything up. And the other thing you take away is the connection to 1978. 1978 films do not feature the ridiculous Three Stooges-esque Foley effects. You know what Foley effects are? Those are the sound effects. I can't even do one. I don't even think I have anything here that'll make a sound. Is that someone getting hit over the head? You know, just... Oh, someone just got clawed to death. Those are Foley effects. It's named after a guy named Foley. He used to do those type of things. Go watch a Three Stooges episode. It's all lettuce being crunched up. It's a joke. It's a joke that now has become the reality of horror films. It is pathetic. Because in 1978, what made the atmosphere so good is just the music set the mood. Not all these Foley effects and these sudden pop-up murder type scenes. It was more atmosphere. You had to crawl in your own head and figure out what was going on. The boogeyman's coming. And trust me, I feel like Todd Slaughter. Todd Slaughter played the Demon Barber of Fleet Street many times on stage. And he became somewhat of an expert at it, unlike the pathetic Johnny Depp. And he had that roll down pat, and he just killed it for the Demon Barber of Fleet Street, that movie. He just had it just perfect. He had that sinister look to him, sinister talk, wanting to polish everyone off and all the lines, and it was perfect. He had it down pat, and I feel like I've done enough over the years dressing up as Michael Myers that I really got it down pat. And you know something? It's not really something overly to be proud of because it's very simple. It's more of a discipline than it is of some sort of great performance. And I spoke at length before on how to be Michael Myers. How do you go as Michael Myers? This film sucks as going as Michael Myers. First of all, you humanize him immediately. You show him in the middle of nowhere. You show half of his face, the way you're suggesting he looks now. He's supposed to be a supernatural figure. He's supposed to be the boogeyman, not some guy locked up. And then there's a kill scene. It is, I swear it was stolen from another horror movie. It was one of those, what's behind door number 2 or 3? It's the killer walks into the bathroom, and there's a girl in the bathroom there, and the killer comes in, and he finally figures out where she is. I forget what movie it came from. I'm sure there's other movies too, but you don't put the killer in the bathroom. Bathroom, I don't understand bathroom humor. And that's what they were trying to do right there. To me, it humanizes the killer. This killer is not supposed to be someone who takes dumps or takes whizzes. He is just this guy who just appears out of nowhere. He's not supposed to interact too much. And this is what makes it good. On Halloween night, if I dress up as Michael Myers, or on other nights, I didn't just do it on Halloween night. Sometimes in the middle of summer, I would just put on the mask, and I'd go take a stroll and see how people react. And it's all about how you're acting. And how do you act as Michael Myers? You don't say a word. You're a mute. You're comatose. That's the first rule. The second rule is you're not supposed to be this physical character. You're not supposed to be out and about, walking about too much. It's just sudden little things you show up at. Just sudden little things. You show up outside of the school, and they connected with her. They're doing all this homage to 78, but they do nothing to connect it to 78 by the style. And because they are appealing to this modern, stupid audience, cell phone audience. Let's go to the movie. I'm glad I didn't go to the movie theater and pay, because I paid $13 on Fandango here. And if you went to the movie theater, I forget how much you'd pay. You've got to go. In my area, we don't have a movie theater in my city. I would have to go, well, it's about just call it 10 miles away. It's 8 to 10 miles, depending on how you go there, to the nearest movie theater. And the cell phones would be going off the whole movie, and then there would be all these people asking questions during the movie, and that's the pathetic experience you get for going to one of those movies now. And so they ruined it. All this talk of Rob Zombie ruined Halloween. These are the people who had authorization directly connected to the original director, ruined it worse. This one is worse than Rob Zombie's Halloween, by far. Rob Zombie's Halloween, you know what you're going to get. You know what you're going to get when you get him. You're going to get this over-top, black exploitation, grungy movie. That's what you know what you're going to get. You actually know what you're going to get with Rob Zombie. And you should not be surprised. But this one, you just get crap. You get all this feminist crap, this just this modern movie just parading around is Halloween, when people like me, we're the ones who we wanted a retro movie. We wanted a movie that connected 1978 to another time. Could have been before then. The Boogeyman's forever. Could have been any time. We didn't need to see him demasked. They showed that in the first one. That was fine. But we didn't need to see him demasked again. They could have continued from part 3, actually. You know, all the, the supernatural stuff. Oh, he comes back. But forget all this Jamie stuff. They skip right over all that crap, and it's all about this Jamie Lee Curtis character who's got this this dungeon she lives in full of guns, and just it's pathetic. We knew for the first one, if you're gonna connect it to the first one, he was shot how many times? 6 times, and he still got up. And so this one, you got him being attacked by these 3 women or whatever, and they kill him. Ugh. It's pathetic. It is pathetic. The way we don't go to the movies and we don't watch these movies to get reality. We know Michael Myers comes up to us with his stupid little lamps, and you take out a gun and shoot him. He's dead. In reality, that's how it happens. There's very few people who are going to take too many bullets at point blank range, especially if they go through the arteries and stuff at the aorta and cut that blood supply off. He's dead very quick. He's going right to the ground. And that's not what we get here. What we get here is we get this modern day reality where everything is out and about. The killer goes to the bathroom now. I mean, just how many John Wayne movies did you ever watch where John Wayne said, "Hold up, Pilgrim, I gotta go take a dump"? You know, you cut that out from the movie. It's supposed to be entertainment. And they spent, I think, $10 million on this movie, and they made so much, and all these suckers went, like me, I was just a sucker right here. We went and we bought this movie, or went to the movies, and we got suckered in because we thought it was going to be something different. And anyone who tries to suggest, "You don't know what you're talking about, this is Michael Myers, this is how he is now. It's a reboot. You don't understand, it's a reboot." You love those people who talk like that? Reboot? Where did they even get the word from? I never heard of it before until someone tried to argue that with me, when I was already arguing exactly what I'm arguing right now, that this is a massive failure. A massive failure that only monopolies in the film industry allowed this to even be sold in the theaters, because it's not like an independent film has any chance of getting into these major theaters. This was just pushed into theaters, pushed into people's faces right before Halloween, and a lot of people went, and I guarantee they're not coming back to it. It was an awful film. Awful film, and it is for all those reasons that I've already stipulated. It's because they lost their audience. Yeah. They cater into this modern audience that is just pathetic. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, I mentioned before race. I'm mentioning race in this because, for the most part, in 1978, the people who were liking horror movies back then were predominantly white. I'm sorry. White crosses a lot of different borders, includes a lot of different people. But black people generally did not go to movies, horror movies, and they didn't like horror movies. And so what you do is you throw in the Richard Pryor, why was ain't afraid of Dracula? You throw in that to this movie, and you ruin it right there with that little kid. And you think that's cute, and you think that's really reality. I don't see that as reality. Is that the babysitter for him? I'm just not seeing that where I come from, and I come from a very urban area. You can call me a racist, but I'm just speaking reality. 1978. If they were gonna go that route, they could have easily gone that route in 1978. They didn't, because they were painting a picture. John Carpenter was painting a picture of Middle America. He wasn't painting a picture of urban America or how the demographics have obviously changed. I mean, on Halloween, I entertain 100 kids. That's it now, because Halloween is dead here. Most of the trick-or-treaters, I'm talking about at least 80, but probably 90%, are black or mulatto or something like that. And I don't treat them any differently. I give them tons of candy and their eyes bug out. Like, really? Yeah, well, I like Halloween, and I'm going to entertain nonetheless. But if I'm dressed up as Michael Myers or whatever, this year I stuck him in the chair. I just stuck him in the chair because he's not a very challenging person to go as, except for the discipline, remaining quiet, remaining calm, because you're expected to kill a bunch of people, and you can't really do that on Halloween. So that can be a problem at times. So you really gotta, how should you say, you gotta keep you cool with some of these kids. I live in a high crime city and get a lot of like kids of gangbangers coming up, and they will let you know just exactly how they feel. So I went as a devil. I didn't have a mask. I went to go find an old mask I used when I dressed up as a clown, and it was so hot up here that it just melted the mask. The mask was melted. So I had to make a mask out of latex and Scott's toilet paper, and then paint with alcohol activated makeup paints. And I mean, I look scary enough, but that's who came up. Those are the people who came up, because that's how my city is now. It used to be in the early 90s. When I first started home haunting, it's about the early 90s, my city was 90% white. And trick-or-treat night, mostly white kids. Now it's less than 50% white in my city. So you're obviously going to get different types of demographics. But I'm not selling a movie. I'm not saying I've never done this myself, selling things. I've done this. I've done this politically. Meaning I made it very politically inclusive. When I sold the Donald Trump wig, I did a bunch of photoshops that people copied left and right. And I made sure I put all sorts of people in there, including blacks, whites, lesbians, dead people, dead presidents. I put everyone there. I was very inclusive. I understand that in marketing, but you were connected. Call it a different movie. Why call this Halloween 2018 when it was not? This is not Halloween 2018. This is Halloween. This is another movie. This is called, they should call it Activia. Activia. This is not Halloween. It'll never, in my mind, be connected to Halloween 1978. And people who are just like me understand it. We come from I don't want to use the word middle America, but suburban America. You know, it is what it is. I grew up in a suburban type of atmosphere where you couldn't wait to get the next Johnson Smith Company catalog and make an order. Couldn't afford the masks. You know, we didn't have parents that bought you all those fancy masks and the Monster magazines and stuff like that. And the parents didn't buy you the fancy masks like the Dawn Post and what's the other one? Distortions Unlimited and all that. Didn't get all that, but we got the Johnson Smith Company and we got the Mad magazine, and that's just how it was. And we had Creature Double Feature here and on WSBK. Was it WSBK? It was the other one. It was Channel 56, whatever it was. We had Creature Double Feature, and didn't have a horror host or anything really. It just had Dale Dorfman, I think his name was. And he would just announce the Creature Double Feature show. And they would show mostly Japanese horror movies, sometimes some Hammer movies or some Vincent Price movies. And that's where I come from. I don't come from these modern horror movies and these modern demographics or whatever. I mean, I went to a what do you call it, a elementary school. It's a small elementary school, but there were like 3 or 4 blacks in the entire school. There was none of that yellow pudding back then in 1978. That's when I first started going. I was 7 years old. Trust me, 7 years old. I can remember coming home, rainy day, not getting picked up by the car, coming home from the bus stop, made a skeleton out of black construction paper and chalk in art class for Halloween, and it was the night before, whatever. The teacher reminded us all that Charlie Brown's Great Pumpkin is going to be coming on, and we were all for that. There was no DVDs back then. There was no VHS. There was no recording video. I mean, that's where I come from. And there's many other people just like me who are sorely disappointed that they stabbed us in the back with this stupid film. This stupid film that pays so much homage to the past, 1978. And they're just going to pick up from that. And then they left us out. I'm sorry. Other people can cry. They can call me a racist. Call me whatever you want. But I don't come from where you come from. And I have the right to want to see what I want to see. And they failed. They failed miserably. I played Michael Myers many times over the past few years. And I played it much differently, and people appreciated. They were like in the 1978 movie. I made it seem like they were just in the 1978 movie. I was sitting out there with the music playing over and over, the entire soundtrack coming from a recording of a LP, by the way, vinyl, and yeah, nice headphones. Anyone want to buy me a new pair of headphones? I have some Baird Man Dynamic headphones in mind. They're about $900 and they have closed ears. Yes, I would like that. Less feedback. But anyway, yeah, playing that music, I put them in the movie. I was the boogeyman just standing out there. I didn't have some of the greatest costume in the world that all these other. I had a Trick or Treat Studios mask. It's all deteriorated because it was left out in the sun. Some Dickies overalls, whatever you call them, alls, and I would often carry around my my Wusthof chef's knife. Well, my Wusthof chef's knife is better than a Lamson. Lamson looks like a cheap butcher's knife. I remember going to the butcher shop when I was a kid. That's another thing. I went to a butcher shop. Come on, that's the era I come from. Cut me a goddamn fucking break. And what else? That's it. That's all you do. I mean, obviously you don't kill people, but you make it seem like you might get killed. They had to come up and greet me dressed up as Michael Myers holding a knife in my hand. And what did they get for it? The equivalent of a whole candy bar. Just like I got when I was a kid in 1978. Isn't that cool to me? It's not? Okay. But that's how I am. It didn't matter. Providing you had a costume. I mean, if you didn't have a costume, you got less or you got nothing. But I gave out over the years. I gave back to the Halloween community. They never really gave back to me. But this movie did not give back to the Halloween people, the monster kids from the 70s who watch Creature double features and Creature whatever you call them. They're all popular around the whole country. Horror host things in the 70s and Creature features, and we wanted something different and we didn't get it. And this is a major disappointment. I would avoid it. I would not pay for this. I'd wait for it to come on for free because it probably will. That's all.